So first question, can you tell me a little bit about the mission statement and the purpose of the Dallas Hope Center?
Yeah, so the mission statement for DHC, Dallas Hope Charities, Transitional Living Program is to pretty much to design to ensure that all the residents have the skills and tools that they need to get back on their feet and to kind of stay there. So once they leave our program, the goal is to have lifelong success and stability. And so we kind of house our residents for 12 months. So they have a full year worth of stay where they are working towards establishing secure employment while, we give them stable housing. Any other services that they need that we cannot give, they're kind of outsourced, such as mental health services. A lot of our clients referred out to Metro Care Services. We also provide our clients with transportation. So we are partnered with DART. And so we have monthly DART passes that we give out to our residents once they come into our program. And so that DART pass gives them the flexibility to get to their doctor's appointments, jobs, anything that will help further along their stability, if that makes sense. We do case management services. Right now in the house, the housing manager, which is myself, is pretty much playing all the roles because we are still new as far as a new organization, still branding, still building and things like that. But the case management piece is a major piece when it comes to the Hope Center, which is the transitional living program. We provide cell phone services. So also when our clients come in, we also give them $50 towards their cell phone bill. Now, if they do not have a cell phone, we also have the opportunity to provide them with a cell phone. It's imperative for our residents to have some type of communication so they can search for jobs, they can apply for, SSI or any type of benefits that they feel as though they need to help along with their stability. Of course, we provide meals. We do the grocery shopping. We're partnered with Walmart as well. And so we do groceries for the residents. Each resident has a $50. I know it may not seem like a lot, but it's we give them $50 each for the month to go grocery shopping. And as well as pantries, we have our own pantries at the landing scape. And our residents have the opportunity to go back and forth free as will to receive any items that they did not get at the grocery store. So yeah, those are the type of services and the mission statement that DHC offers.
That's awesome. I didn't know that y'all partnered with DART and Walmart.
Yes.
That's super cool. Okay, so around how many homelessness cases do you see a year? And I know that's kind of broad, so if you want to break it down more into monthly or.
So I am going to be honest with you. I am fairly new in this position. I started in August, so I'm roughly 3 months in. And I can give you the statistics around the time frame that I've been here. I don't want to misspeak about something that I was not there for.
No, that's totally fine. That's perfect.
Okay, perfect. So then it's 3 months. I have a caseload of at least 10 residents. Correct. 10 residents. And we have to keep in mind that our residents are housed for 1 year. Okay. And so we only have one location, which is the Hope Center. It is a house. We try to give our residents that home feel base. And so there are 4 bedrooms, 2 persons to a room. So right now we are housing 8 residents, but for the 3 months that I have been here thus far, it has been 10.
So you said four persons to a room?
No, ma'am, two to a room. We have
Oh, two.
4 bedrooms.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Okay. So based on your time since August,
Mhm.
what are some of the main causes you've seen that have caused homelessness among the LGBTQ community?
Of course. The main reason that I have seen thus far with my residents is just not being accepted, closed-minded individuals, whether that's just within society itself, family members, friends, they're just not being accepted. And so they are struggling trying to find who they really are as far as their identity. And so because it's not understood by a lot of people, it sad to say they have been um, removed from the only lives and the only people that they know have known. And so yes, it's more likely because of the fact that the family members do not agree with their lifestyle.
So do they have to show, like, how do you determine, okay, they actually are in need of housing, um, and letting them into the program? Like, how do you go about determining that?
Yes, so we have an intake process, and so normally we have a generated form that's on our site that anyone that is in need of housing can fill out. And so it comes to myself and it comes to our marketing manager, Sierra. And right now we have a total of maybe about 50 residents on the wait list. And so what I do as the housing manager is when a bed becomes open, I take the first person that's on the wait list and I do a initial assessment. And then so initial assessment is just giving me a basic background about yourself, the things that has been going on. Are you homeless, chronically homeless, the things that you need, 3 goals, any psych issues, anything like that. And so I take that and I pretty much make my own determination. After a background check, a thorough background check is conducted on each resident. And so after initial assessment, a background check and a screening has been completed, and I feel as though the client wants the help and this would be a good fit for that person, then I accept that client.
Oh, okay, I see.
Mhm.
So wow, there's 50 on the wait list.
Yes,
That's a lot.
it is. It is. In
Wow.
Texas, we're not Promise House and ourselves, Dallas Hope Charities. We are the only 2 LGBT transitional living programs out here in Texas. So the need, it is a need. It is a need.
Yeah, gosh, sounds like it. Um, so in terms of affordable housing,
Mhm.
once I guess, because you said they have a year to live there, right, with y'all?
Correct.
So
Yes.
after that year is up, do y'all help them in the process of finding affordable housing, or how does that work after that?
So yes, that kind of is allocated to the case manager. But yes, we do help them throughout the course of their stay, those 12 months, to be working on trying to find affordable housing, whether that's your own apartment, Section 8 voucher, whatever the case is. But in that 12 months, how we are working towards gaining that resident affordable housing after they depart from the program is finding a job and creating a savings account. Okay. Or for instance, we may have a resident who previously was evicted. And so one of their goals may be to work on getting that eviction off of their record. And so I might refer that client to certain services outsourced that can assist as far as removing that eviction.
I see. Okay. That's really cool that you're not just kind of like letting them stay and then they leave, but you're
Yeah,
helping
no, no, no,
them.
no, 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 no. And I think that what we're doing here at DHC It's teaching them life skills. It all comes down to life skills, how to be stable and how to stay there. Because a lot of times, yes, a lot of residents, whether it's in a shelter, transitional living, boarding home, they tend to leave and then they have to come back, or they have to find another program to enroll into. And that's what we are trying to eliminate when it comes to our residents.
Yeah, that's so true. That's really awesome. Okay, last question. Are there certain factors that make it harder for LGBTQ to find housing? If so, what are they?
Simple. The sexual orientation, because it is not the norm. It is very hard for anyone that is part of the LGBT community, especially those that are transgender. That I'm sorry, I get very passionate when I talk about that.
Oh, it's okay.
But yes, so a lot of times the trans population are discriminated against due to, because they don't look or identify as what they were when they were born. And like I said previously, it all boils back down to, just educating yourself. You don't have to like it, but we needed to support. And so, yes.
Yeah, that's so true. Thank you so much.
No problem.
This was just great information, very helpful. So yeah, I really appreciate it, and for your time too.
Yes.
And I'm really sorry about the technical difficulties.
I know. It's okay though.
But you have a great voice. So the voice, it was totally fine. It'll work great.
Thank you. Thank you.
But yeah, once we finish, we'll finish up our story at the end of the semester. It's kind of a long ongoing research.
Okay.
Then we put it all together. We do a podcast, video, we do a print story. So I will definitely send it to you at the end once it's done.
Yes,
you're
please.
such a big help with it. So
thank you, Madison. And I look forward to hearing from you and reading that log. Okay.
awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. So with the questions, where would you like to start?
We'll start the first one.
Okay. Did you want to do it?
Yeah. So kind of the first couple questions we have for you. Could you tell us a little bit about the Dallas Hope Center, like what it does and how it came to be? And then how do LGBTQ young adults have a harder time tackling housing issues? And if you need me to repeat the questions, I can.
Okay. Yeah. So the Dallas Hope Center, it's a initiative under kind of our big umbrella organization, which is Dallas Hope Charities. And so the center itself, I don't know the exact year that it started. I know that we just got the house itself like a year or two ago. And then we're just now getting to a place where we can open all 8 bedrooms to folks in need. And so overall, the purpose of that is that the folks who are living there, they can stay with us for up to a year. They're typically folks who maybe have aged out of foster care, or maybe have some kind of like case management with like a social worker, or they've been kicked out by relatives because they've been outed as a member of the LGBT community. So basically we let them stay with us free of charge. The first couple months is just focus on getting them stable and just kind of getting them out of the crisis situation that they came from. And then they spend the rest of the time looking for work and building up savings and just trying to gain skills that can help them live independently once they're out of the house, so that hopefully they're not going back into a homelessness situation. And so I forget the second half of your question. I'm so sorry.
No, that's really fine. That's a good answer. So I guess how do LGBTQ, because we've done a lot of research, and from what we've seen is that members of the LGBTQ community feel like they have a harder time finding affordable housing or tackling housing issues. So do you know like the reason for that, or have you seen that happen?
Yeah, so I don't know the exact reason, and to be honest, just because that's kind of a little away from my specialty. But if I were just to guess from what I know about like sociology and just some of like critical or like queer theory issues and things like that, it's probably pretty layered. First of all, there is just kind of that discrimination factor. So folks, if they're not getting support from their family members, they're not either comfortable to stay in the house or they're not even allowed to stay in the house. And so if LGBT folks don't have any other support system or don't have anywhere that they can go, then unfortunately they are kind of forced to be homeless. And then you also have kind of the work discrimination portion of it. I know even like as far as the pandemic goes, there have been more LGBT folks who have been unemployed throughout the pandemic. And that could be maybe if they're trans, they're not able to work in a way that aligns with their gender identity, or they're facing discrimination in the interview process. So they're just not able to get the work that they need to even afford housing. And then two, sometimes with affordable housing, what you'll see is that you need to have like a family unit. And so while technically like housing companies aren't supposed to be discriminating, they still do it anyways. And so if folks aren't falling under kind of like a heteronormative expectation of a family, they're not allowed to stay in sometimes even shelters will do it too, unfortunately. So again, like they're not being allowed to stay in those places where they could afford the housing.
Yeah. It wasn't on here though. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So I wanted to ask, like, you was talking about the kind of like the process. So is it kind of like stages when they come in? So it's like, you know, getting to know them and figuring out their issue, and then afterwards, like, I guess, helping them along the way to the, I guess, final product of them graduating, quote unquote, to
Mhm.
living outside of the home.
Yeah, so that's a little bit more under Courtney's area of expertise, especially because she runs the housing. But my understanding of the process is that folks will reach out to her, and then there is kind of like an application process where they'll ask like their age, what kind of situation is that they're coming from. And then from there, we kind of decide if we have the room to take them. Like I said, right now we're currently at capacity. But if we are able to take them, then we take them in. I think they do have to provide some documentation. But like I said, once we kind of get them in with the healthcare, the expectation is that they're either working, or if they're not working, they're volunteering. And then that they're building savings. We've started providing them with like classes and kind of like teaching seminars. And then we kind of help them look for apartments or just figure out where it is that they're going to go next. And then from there, they kind of move out. So like I said, she knows kind of more of the details. I just have kind of the broad understanding of it.
Yeah, yeah, she kind of filled me in some yesterday
Okay.
on the details. So where does the Dallas Hope Center get their funding from?
So we get it from mostly grants and donors. The grants is the biggest part of it. And right now we are kind of doing the best that we can to stay away from like federal government grants, because once you start accepting those, you do have like certain guidelines that you have to follow and it starts to get really restrictive. So right now it's mostly like grants, beneficiary events, and just donations.
So why is the Dallas Hope Center so important to have? Because like before we started researching, I never heard of it. And I feel like more people should hear about it and know about it. So why do you think it's so important for the word to get out there about it?
Yeah, so right now it's kind of one of the only shelter of its kind, whereas we do take folks for up to a year and they do have to be LGBT identifying. And what makes it special is that like basically in more traditional shelters that don't have that protection for LGBT folks, they're at a higher risk for homophobic attacks, which again makes it hard to kind of be successful when you're fighting homophobia and houselessness. And so having a space where that's at least one less thing that you have to worry about, it's super important. And it, like I said, we're definitely trying to set folks up for success while they're there. And we're assisting with medical care services, mental health services, and things like that. And so it's just super important, even if like folks are able to start replicating the services that we do, just so that we can really service as much people as we can, especially with COVID and folks being unemployed and things like that.
That's awesome. So kind of final question. Did you have any more?
Well, I don't know if you asked Courtney about it, like what, I guess, age group did they cater to the most?
Oh, no, I didn't ask it.
What, do you know what age group you guys cater to the most? Or what
Yeah,
kind of
so
women?
so with the housing specifically, it's anyone between the ages of 18 to 24.
Do y'all usually see younger, like towards the 18, 19, 20 side? Or
So that part I wouldn't know for sure. I think I have heard that there's a couple cases where folks will reach out as young as 17, maybe because they know they're gonna start aging out of foster care. So unfortunately, we can't take them at that point, but that does get them on our radar. But most of the folks do tend to be pretty young.
so final question. Oh, sorry, just muted myself. How can people find you and how do y'all get the word out there that you're here to help?
That's exactly what I want to ask.
Yeah. I think our biggest thing is our website. I know even when I was job hunting, that's how I kind of came across it. We are on social media. I know Instagram is kind of our most successful, but we're also on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. And then we work with a lot of different organizations too. So that's kind of something that we've been doing, is making sure that we're keeping those partnerships so that if they come across someone that maybe they can't serve or that they know would most benefit from being served by us, they can kind of point them in our direction.
Okay, so if you're comfortable sharing, what led you to seek out the Dallas Hope Charities?
There's not really any other organization or even nonprofit that really helps with housing that I was able to find out about when I first came to the area. I was referred to Dallas Hope by Outlast Youth. Their operations are currently paused, but at the time that I contacted them, they had told me that Dallas Hope was the only place they had known of. And so that was how I found out about them. There wasn't really anywhere else that I could really go to, and I knew that I kind of needed somewhere that would not only that wasn't just a shelter, but somewhere that would be able to help me with resources and things as well.
Yeah. So where were you before Dallas Hope Charities?
I was in Fort Worth, and then before that, I was in a different part of Texas. But since it was a small area, there wasn't really anywhere that I could go.
Okay, so you've kind of been all over the place.
I have, yes.
And then can you describe what it's like staying at the Dallas Hope Center? I know you mentioned like they're helping you with resources and stuff like that. Could you tell me a little bit more?
Yes. So there's currently current 7. There's currently 6 residents. I had to. Okay, there's currently 6 residents. I'm sorry about that. I had to think. And so for me, for example, I have a roommate, and it's kind of, even though I have a roommate, it's kind of like we get the help and then we kind of do our own thing, if that makes sense. So for example, Courtney, who you've talked to, had given me resources for applying for food stamps and things like that, and helped me to kind of get the documents and stuff that I needed in order to do that. And as well as to kind of help me with resources for finding doctors and things, which since I'm not from here, I don't know those things. I don't know which doctors are ones that are necessarily accepting of the LGBT community that wouldn't necessarily be discriminatory. So it's helped me a lot to be able to get resources from them.
That's really cool. I'm really glad that they're able to help with that. That's awesome. So this isn't really a question I had written down, but I just thought of it. And so if you don't feel comfortable answering, totally fine. But what was the reason you needed to seek out Dallas Hope Charities?
I was homeless.
Okay. How long?
Before coming here, I was at a shelter in Fort Worth, and before going to there, I was at a different shelter in the place I was at. But none of them had really given me very many resources to use, like to improve my situation. It was kind of an okay, we'll give you a roof over your head and we can point you in directions for food, like food banks and stuff that were nearby, but it wasn't anywhere near as helpful as Dallas Hope has been for me.
Okay,
So,
I see. So let's see here. So,
um,
oh yeah,
sorry, I
go ahead.
was gonna say, um, the I guess to more accurately answer your question, I'm sorry, um, is that a lot of places, like, kind of a lot of things you're expected to have a lot of like parental support or family support or to have connections and stuff. And so if you don't have the money for something and you don't have the connections for something, you're kind of just kind of left on your own, especially as far as housing. So
Yeah, so the Dallas Hope Center like helps with that support aspect of it. Okay,
yes.
that's
It's
awesome.
with the support as well as housing and making sure we have food and everything.
So
And then
how do they help you find, so I guess after you stay there, when I talked to Courtney, she mentioned like during your stay, they help y'all like find affordable housing. Have you dealt with
um,
that yet or
so Dallas Hope, they have a house for us.
that
And
you
so
stay in?
yes. And so, for example, they pay the bills for the actual house. So electricity, heating, things like that is paid for by them. And um, we do have to pay a certain amount toward rent, but otherwise it's not anywhere near as expensive as like an actual apartment would be. But it is something that we can afford kind of when getting back on our feet, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Do they help you find like a job or work or point you to like safe places
Um,
like that?
it's yes. It's kind of we're expected to have a job and to kind of save up money or to be taking classes um, during the sorry during the during our stay, so that we can save up money and kind of get ourselves into a completely different situation than we were before,
Yeah.
since the majority of us had nowhere else we could have gone. So
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. So last question here, and your answers have been super great. So, um,
okay.
how is life going for you now?
It is going in a completely different direction than before for me. I actually feel like things can get better for me versus before coming here. I didn't know if I was ever going to find that help, and so it's been really nice that they've helped me with kind of everything I could have hoped for.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. Okay, I'm going to stop recording.